I'm going to go over the 4.7 and 4.9 quiz review for the quiz tomorrow. For C period, some of the questions were a little different because there were a couple mistakes in some of them, but for the most part, all the questions are the same. So let's look at number 1. An equilateral triangle has a perimeter of 21 feet. Each side has the length of 2x plus 3. So if a question just gives you words, the first thing you should do is draw a picture so you can visualize it. So each side has a length of 2x plus 3. So all three of these are going to be 2x plus 3. If the perimeter is 21 feet, that means that all of these added up together will be 21 feet. So to solve this problem, we would do 2x plus 3 plus 2x plus 3 plus 2x plus 3 is equal to 21. And then we would get 6x plus 9 is equal to 21. And just solve for x. So x is equal to 2. And just to double check, we can go back and read what the question's asking us for. This question's just asking us for the value of x, so all we need to do is find x. Let's look at number 2. An isosceles triangle has a perimeter of 70 centimeters. The congruent sides have the value of 2x, and the base side has the length of 3x. What is the length of the base? So we can draw it out in order to visualize it. So we have two congruent sides in an isosceles triangle, and the congruent sides have the value of 2x. So we have a side with 2x and another side with 2x. And the length of the base is 3x. So again, we have a perimeter of 70 centimeters, so when we add all three sides, we're going to get 70. So we add 2x plus 2x plus 3x is equal to 70. So we get 7x is equal to 70, and x is equal to 10. This question's asking us what is the length of the base, so we need to take this 10 and plug it in to the base, which is 3x. So for the base, we will get 30 centimeters. Let's look at number 3. What is the measure of one of the base angles of an isosceles triangle if the measure of the vertex angle is 50? So let's draw this out again. The measure of the vertex angle, so this angle at the top is going to be 50. And we know that the other two angles in this triangle are going to be congruent. So we're going to have an x and an x. We need to find out what one of those x's are. So we know that all three angles of a triangle add up and give you 180 degrees. So we can add x plus 50 is equal to 180. So we get 2x is equal to 130 and x is equal to 65. And this question's asking what's the measure of one of the base angles. So one base angle would be 65 degrees. Let's take a look at number 4. So one angle of an equilateral triangle measures 2x minus 20. What is the value of x? So we can draw this out, and we know if we have an equilateral triangle that it's also going to be equiangular. So if one angle is 2x minus 20, then all three angles are going to be 2x minus 20. We can add up 2x minus 20 plus 2x minus 20 plus 2x minus 20 and set it equal to 180, but we also know that every single angle in an equilateral triangle is going to be equal to 60. So we have 2x minus 20 is equal to 60. So we can add 20 to both sides. 2x is equal to 80, and x is equal to 40. And the question is just asking us what's the value of x. So x is equal to 40 is our answer. Next, for number 5, we have triangle XYZ is equal to triangle ABC. So let's draw it out. We have triangle XYZ, and that's congruent to ABC. Remember, we have to do it in the same order. So if we write X, then Y on top, we have to do A, then B on top. So XY is 4, YZ is 5, and AC is 6. If these two triangles are equal, then we know all of their corresponding parts are also equal. So AC is going to be congruent to XZ. So if AC is 6, then XZ is also equal to 6. For number 6, what is the value of X? Here we have an equilateral triangle, so we know it's also going to be equiangular. So all 3 of these angles are going to be 4x minus 20. So again, we can add 4x minus 20 plus 4x minus 20 plus 4x minus 20 and set that equal to 180. But we also know if we have an equilateral triangle that each of the inside angles are going to be equal to 60. So we can do 4x minus 20 is equal to 60. And then we can add 20 to both sides. So we get 4x is equal to 80, and x is going to be equal to 20. And this question is just asking us for the value of x. So x equals 20 is our answer. Let's look at number 7. Find the measure of angle C. So here we have an isosceles triangle, so we know that the opposite angles of the congruent sides are also going to be congruent. So angle A is going to be congruent to angle C. So if angle A is 3x plus 20, then angle C is also 3x plus 20. So now that we know what all 3 sides of the triangle is, we can add them all up. So we have 3x plus 20 plus 3x plus 20 plus the vertex angle, which is x, is equal to 180. So now we have 7x, combining all the x's, plus 40, 20 plus 20, is equal to 180. And just solve for x. So we get 7x is equal to 140, and x is equal to 20. This question is asking us to find the measure of angle C. So in order to find C, which is this angle, we need to take x is equal to 20 and plug it in. So we get 3 times 20 plus 20 is equal to 80. So angle C is equal to 80 degrees. Now let's do number 8. Find CB. So we know that this is an equiangular triangle, so we know that equiangular triangles are also equilateral, so all of these sides are going to be equal. So since 2x is equal to 6x minus 12, to find x, we can just set them equal to each other. So 6x minus 12 is equal to 2x. And now we just solve for x. So we get x is equal to 3, but it's asking us for side CB, so we need to find this side. So we take 3 and plug it in to 2x. And we get CB is equal to 6. Number 9, find the measure of angle 1, 2, and 3. So again, for C period, this didn't have the parallel arrows, so these arrows indicate that these two lines are parallel. But if we have two parallel lines that's cut by a transversal, if this angle is 52, then we know that angle 2 is also going to be 52, because they are alternate interior angles. So that's how to find angle 2. Next we can find angle 1 because we know that this is a linear pair. So since this is a straight line, angle 1 plus angle 52 plus 52 degrees is equal to 180. So since this is a straight line, we add the two angles up and equal them to 180. So we subtract 52 from both sides, and we get angle 1 is equal to 128 degrees. Okay, and lastly, we can find angle 3 because we know that the opposite angles to the congruent sides are also congruent. So this angle here is congruent to this one, so this angle has to be 52. And now that we found two angles of the triangle, we can find the third by saying 52 plus 52 plus angle 3 is equal to 180. So I just added all three angles of the triangle and set it equal to 180. So here we have 104, so we can subtract 104 from both sides, and we get angle 3 is equal to 76 degrees. So we found angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. Question 10 asks us to find the value of x. So here we have an isosceles triangle, so we know that the opposite angles to the congruent sides are also going to be congruent. So since this angle is congruent to this one, we set 2x plus 24 equal to 50. And now we just solve for x. So we subtract 24 from both sides. We get 2x is equal to 26, and x is equal to 13. And the question is just asking us for the value of x, so that's our answer. Okay, number 11 is asking us to find the value of x. So we know that the opposite angles of the congruent sides are going to be congruent. So this angle is congruent to this one. So since this angle here is 3x, this angle here is also going to be 3x. So now we have a value for all three of the angles of a triangle. So we add them all up and set them equal to 180. So we add 3x plus 3x plus 2x plus 17 is equal to 180. So now we get 8x plus 17 is equal to 180. Subtract 17 from both sides. We get 8x is equal to 163, which x would be equal to 163 over 8, or 20.3 if you're using a calculator. Number 12. So again, in C period, this said 30, this angle here, but I asked you guys to change it to 50 because 30 wouldn't make any sense. So if this angle is 50, we know that this angle here is also going to be 50. If we have two angles of a triangle, 50 and 50, we can find the third angle by adding 50 plus 50 plus x is equal to 180. So we get x is equal to 80. So this third angle of the triangle is going to be 80 degrees. We know that this angle here is also going to be 80 because these two angles are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. Since this is another isosceles triangle, we know that the opposite angles of the congruent sides are going to be congruent. So if this angle is 80, then this angle also has to be 80. And now we have two angles of a triangle and x, so we can add 80 plus 80 plus x is equal to 180. So remember, when dealing with angles, you can add all three angles and set them equal to 180. So we have x is equal to 20. And this question is just asking us to find the value of x, so that's our answer. Okay, last question, we have the proof. So it's given that the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 2. So we can put arc marks at angle 1 and angle 2. It's also given that the measure of angle 3 is congruent to the measure of angle 4. So we can put 2 arc marks here and 2 arc marks here. Obviously, this picture is not drawn to scale. So for our step 1, we just restate the given. So we have the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 2, and the measure of angle 3 is equal to the measure of angle 4. And our reason is given, because it says it right here in the given. For step 2, we can say that SQ is congruent to SQ. And that is because of the reflexive property. And then now we know that these two triangles are congruent because we have an angle, a side, and an angle. So by ASA, we can say that triangle SRQ is congruent to triangle SPQ. And remember, when naming the triangles, you have to keep it in the same order. So if I have one arc mark here, and then I go to the side with no arc mark, then finish at the side with 2 arc marks, I have to do the same thing. So if I have one arc mark here, then none, and then finish at 2. So you have to keep, when you name the triangles, you have to keep it in that consecutive order. So now that I proved the two triangles are congruent, I know that all of their corresponding parts are congruent. So I can say that PS is congruent to RS because corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So step 4, we write PS is equal to RS by CP CTC. So remember, in order to use CP CTC, you have to first say that the triangles are congruent. So the last page is all the definitions that you could use for a proof. There's more, but these are the ones that we're focusing on in these 2 lessons. So in order to prove triangles are congruent, remember we have 5 ways that we can do that. We can prove 2 triangles are congruent by ASA, AAS, SSS, SAS, and HL. We can also prove that 2 triangles are congruent by the congruent triangles theorem. Which states that if we have 2 triangles and all of their corresponding parts are congruent, then the 2 triangles are congruent. But on our quiz for tomorrow, when proving that 2 triangles are congruent, we're going to use one of these. Because in order to use CPCTC, we need to first say that the 2 triangles are congruent, and these are the different ways that we can say that the 2 triangles are congruent.